All right, let's talk about your chips and dip.
Chips and dip. All right. So, as I poorly explained at the beginning of the video, BRICS is want to say, a collective of a nation alliance of other countries. There's two, G7 and BRICS. G7 might be in, like, what the hell are these two names? So I'm going to explain it. Thank you to ChatGTP. And let's see if it's incorrect, as I'm going to verbally read what it spit back out. So G7, small term, comprises of the United States, Japan, Germany, United Kingdom, Canada, Italy, France, typical countries. BRICS falls on the line of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So those are the two, like, ideology different sides of countries.
They're two different economic factions.
Two different economic factions. F you, ChatGPT, didn't freaking simplify that enough for me.
So is the higher level question more so just the idea that BRICS is gaining steam?
Yes.
And less about the financial systems on the bottom?
Correct.
Okay.
Totally, again, butcher that.
Yeah, no. Okay, so really, I think whether it's BRICS or any other kind of like economic alliance, I don't think we should be surprised, man. I think for a long time, the US has been like touting that they are like the top dog, but it's almost like a delusional propaganda of like, if you proclaim yourself to be the best, that doesn't make you the best. And I think you and me, we both had the opportunity to travel a lot of different countries. I mean, I've met my fair share of people that have zero desire to ever come to the United States. Like, maybe when I was like first traveling, I was like, oh my God, like, have you been to the US? And they're like, and like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, everyone wants to freaking come here. But you know, that's not a fact at all. And I've definitely drank the Kool-Aid of the New World Order by Ray Dalio. Not sure if you've either read the book or seen like the 45-minute documentary on that, but basically, so Ray Dalio runs a hedge fund, but a lot of the way that he invests is based off of identifying trends and events in history. And he uses that as like leading indicators to determine what could potentially be happening in the future. And so the New World Order talks about the rise and fall of different dynasties, where if we're looking at the British dynasty, the Dutch dynasty, the Spanish dynasty, the US dynasty, if we're following what has happened historically, the US is on a decline unless something changes. And the country that is based off these historical indicators on the rise is China, right? So, I mean, no empire stays forever. I mean, it's the one thing that we learned about in the history books is everything rises and everything falls. And if that wasn't the case, we would still, I mean, we would all be Romans right now, right? Like, and so, yeah, it's not a big surprise. I think when I see things like that in the news, part of me is like, okay, we can keep to the status quo and work within the system. But I think what that also means is that if you are keeping an eye on it, there's other opportunity to take advantage of, right? So if we're looking at BRICS and the economic alliance of like South Africa with China, I mean, you and me, we have a mutual friend in Africa. And when we were there a couple of years ago, I left that trip thinking that that was the new frontier. I was like, if you can make moves here, like there is something to be had. I don't know if this is like good or bad of saying it, but there's less competition. There's so much, like, I mean, like, dude, think about this. The economies in those countries can take advantage of the fact that they can go straight from no connection to straight wireless connection and like 5G like connectivity, right? They don't have to go through the dial-up phase and then the like, you know, DSL phase and then the cable phase. And then now they're going like, there's all this like evolutionary tax that we had to go through that they can just skip and then take advantage of all that technology right off the bat. Right. And then you and me, we're experimenting with ChatGPT. People out there are experimenting with ChatGPT. And so they could literally go from like, right now we go and buy something at Starbucks. And after you buy something at Starbucks, they flip the little screen around and be like, do you want to tip me? Right. Like that infrastructure doesn't exist right out there. Like anyone out there creates that new narrative.
It's gonna be just a land grab across the board in any type of like just transporting anything we know here and then over there and implementing it is gonna be insane.
Oh yeah. So like I always see it from an opportunity standpoint. I don't think it's like the world is ending. I'm like the world is changing. And
yes,
if you don't change with it, you get left behind. I think that's just the facts of it. Is it right? No, that's just how the world ends. Like the world changes. It's not the way that we all used to be. As much as I love the early 2000s, throw some Usher on, like, let's go. But like things change, got to change with it, seek the opportunity, and those who adjust faster benefit.
Ooh, definitely more elegant than how we finished up. It's very nice.
Oh, like how we were starting with like Swift
Yes.
banks and UBS collapsing and buying Credit Suzy, and let's throw the Federal Reserve. And
This is why I should stay in my lane of not diving too much. I try to push myself, but
dude, that's
now.
the whole point of us connecting, right? Like it's a safe place we can learn new stuff, and other people that may listen to this can also chime in, which allows us to just become that more well-rounded.
Yeah.
But okay, so you read this.
Yes.
I gave a giant monologue on where my thoughts are.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the rise of a new economic alliance, also known as BRICS at this moment, versus like what current status quo has been?
I'm gonna think of multiple levels as just a general like. I'm gonna think of it as an American standpoint. Like, yeah, it's scary. All right, crap. Like again, we're not gonna be that. Sooner or later, we're not gonna be that like standard or like vision, and that's like on a very just an American like level. As an individual level for me, as of right now, nothing changes. Again, I think I follow with you is that just capitalizing on opportunities. At the end of the day, when things world changes and order shifts, other countries were fine. I think let's just go with who's not in charge. Like UK, very in charge way back when. They were fine after again when that new world order changed. It's just adapting to it and still being a very strong country. But but these smaller countries that could just not focus on that could just have the ability to focus on themselves started to become a little bit more self-efficient, a little bit community heavy. Every time you went out to like the EU, when you went out like just to France and everything else, I think I'd say so. Think as an individual, nothing changes. Again, you still got to execute whatever gets to get done, gets to work in. I think as a consumer, as an American, I think it might shift where economically in the US, I don't know how to forecast things, but if it does, it can go up or it can go down. And that, again, going back to the individual way of just reacting and being proactive. Oh my goodness. But that's how I see it. I'm going on the approach again, just adjusting the changes. I can't stand the fear of that. Like, oh my God, like what happens if? Can't always be in the world of what ifs. I think it's just interesting because a lot of like I'm going to speak of for a majority of America's great, America type of thing, where that's not the case, and we have to just get back to the roots and get back to the bootstraps and get to work. I think instead of thinking we're so great, we're not. Back to the participation trophy topic, we're really not. So yeah, I think I'm kind of, if it does change, I think kind of in the better because I think it takes a point of America doesn't always have to dip into world issues. I think now it could just focus on a country. So
I think there's different levels, right?
I think higher.
Yeah, like the first level, you just got to worry about like today. Can you pay your rent?
Mm-hmm.
Can you eat? Can you like
Yeah.
just get you done because like everything else isn't going to matter? And then as you know, there's a little bit of cushion. You can worry about a little bit of like what that next thing is, right? Now you can start to figure out what index you want to invest in, right? Like that's where like, oh, I'm going to have more of my money internationally because I want to hedge into maybe some high growth over there. Now that's like more relevant at that level. But like you were saying, if you're still worried about like ground level stuff, like this stuff realistically makes no difference.
Yeah. Different thoughts. So hope I didn't lose you there as well.
No, you didn't. No, that was good. So there was this one article I read a long ass time ago. I wonder if I could actually find it on Google, but it was when China started investing more into Africa, and the
Is that
title
the New York
was
or the Times article? That piece?
yeah, China's China. What is it? Africa is China's China. And I mean it makes sense, right? Like if you look at any country and as they evolve, they go through, like agriculture, manufacturing, service based. And then once you're kind of in the service level, that's where like a lot of the countries that are, I guess, more developed, those are the services that they're providing, right? Like the US is very services heavy, almost so much that like now we don't have tradesmen to do things, tradesmen and women, tradespeople to, but like, yeah, it was only a matter of time before China pushes away from like manufacturing is great and all, but like, where are we, like, who's our China so we could get cheaper things? So, like, yeah, economically, there's going to be a change eventually. 2018, there was something that came out about that. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff about that.
You find the article?
Not the Times article, but there's a lot. There's a lot of them.